Oh, hey there. You seem to have caught me in the middle of my monthly milk bath. Well, take a seat. Don't be shy. This is an educational video. Surely I would never do anything objectionable. Sar, I know that I just did another video essay talking about Drag Race, and I probably should be diversifying my niche even just a little bit, but I have to be honest, season 17 slaps. And in the age of the second Trump administration, where the White House is a glorified Tesla dealership, our country is being shadow ran by an incel man baby with a rhinestone chainsaw.
Legalize comedy.
I am the comedy. I'm Dog Gothic MAGA. USA! 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 USA!
And TikTok is basically Temu core. It feels so good that despite all the insanity, my favorite TV show of all time has never been so back. Because in the desert that is the United States of... I cling to my oases. I mean, wetter is better, right? Am I doing too much? I'll tone it down just a little bit. I'm sorry. I don't want to get demonetized. No, get back out of here. Stay where you're supposed to be. Season 17 of Drag Race is arguably the best season we have had since season 12. I mean, we were spoiled rotten last year with season 16, so you know I am having a blast with this one. This has, however, prompted me to start thinking about my relationship to Drag Race and drag as a whole over the course of the last couple years. My first interaction with drag happened in 2014 when I played the very quirky and charming indie game called Kitty Powers Matchmaker, hosted by British drag queen Kitty Powers. At the time, I had never really been exposed to drag as an art form, so it was kind of mind-breaking to my adolescent brain at the time that someone who presented masculine could serve full woman fantasy. Never mind the fact that two people of the same gender could find a meaningful and happy relationship. A few years later, I discovered Trixie Mattel and Katya Zamolodchikova through their popular YouTube series, the show where they talk about whatever they want, because it's their show, and not yours. I'm having too much fun with this. And from there, I discovered queens like Courtney Act, Sasha Colby, Bianca Del Rio, Juno Birch. Point being is, I've been a lover of the art of drag for a lot longer than I've liked Drag Race. In fact, there was a pretty long period of time in my life where I was very much like, I'm not like other gays. How dare you assume that I would watch Drag Race just because I'm gay? I don't even know who RuPaul is. Like, okay, I'm a normal gay, okay? I'm a good gay. I'm a real gay. Why can't you just accept me? I'm not like those other Boy, would Youth Minister Archie hate who I've become now! I actually first got into Drag Race in 2021. You know, after I left the Catholic Church and unpacked all that internalized homophobia, when my straight roommate at the time invited me to watch All Stars 1 and 2 with him. And needless to say I was hooked. Oh, and as someone with undiagnosed ADHD, the hyperfixation came in hard and fast. I have never found a TV show that has spoken more deeply to me as a queer person and just a lover of art and theatrics in the history of my life. Like, I consumed so much Drag Race and drag-related content from the year 2021 to 2023 to the point where it annoyed everyone in my personal life. I can confidently name every single winner in Miss Congeniality ever to be featured on the show, but I still cannot be bothered to, you know, learn how to properly file a W-2. It's not helpful information, but it's my darkness, and I'm okay with that. Now, because I didn't watch most of the show before season 14 was live, I actually have a very different relationship to Drag Race than most of the fandom. I avoided a lot of the major controversies, and I don't have a lot of nostalgia for the older seasons. And I think that serves to my advantage because I'm able to approach the art of drag and drag artists and drag queens and characters on the show, Drag Race as a brand in general, a lot more objectively. You know, especially without nostalgia bias. So you can imagine how I'm having quite the hard time understanding why season 17 is such a goddamn polarizing season. This is everything that I look for in a season of Drag Race. In fact, I would go so far as to say that season 17 is a masterpiece. And here's why. Hey. Hi. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you so much for all the love and support on the last project. I cannot believe that my first video essay did as well as it did. That's crazy. And I'm a fan. Like, thank you all so much for all the love and support. It's only uphill from here. I want to turn content creation into a full-time career for me and be able to work for myself and have a more flexible schedule. And in order to do that, we need a little thing called support and funding. And here are some actionable ways that you, the viewer, can help make the Merc project even better. First and foremost, you can like, comment, and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. It's free, and it literally takes 30 seconds of your time. If you have anything to add to the conversation, you can also leave a comment. You know, I want to hear your thoughts on things. I don't always read the comment section, but even then, when I do, I like engaging with people and seeing what they have to say on things, you know, as long as you're being respectful. Second, another free thing you can do is follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Blue Sky, and you can follow me there. If you are under the age of 18, I don't recommend that you follow me on socials, but if you are, hey, come say hi. Maybe I'll follow you back. Maybe we'll be oomphs. I like oomphs, be my friend. Thirdly, I also have a Twitch. You can follow me at twitch.tv/thatarchiemerc. I stream a lot and react to Drag Race on there, and it's fun and cool. And if you wanna like talk with me about stuff or whatever and, you know, see me game, you should follow me on there. It's a lot of fun. We have a good time there. I just broke 300 followers on there. I am so grateful for all the support on there. It's one of my favorite things to do. I do it a couple times a week, and I post the schedule weekly on my socials, so don't miss out on that. Last but certainly not least is I have a Patreon, and I will be uploading ad-free, extended content, and more bonus content on there. There will be different tiers for different kinds of people, so if your financial situation means that you cannot chip in a whole lot, don't worry, there's an option for you. You can follow me on there if you want a more extended universe version of the Merc project. It's a lot of fun. Come say hi. Slay. Check out the link tree if you want to support me. Please be 18 plus if you want to interact with me on anything that is not YouTube. That is all. Goodbye. Back to the video. I don't know how to do advertisements. Bye. Part 1. The warm-up. So before we even jump into analyzing season 17, we need to ask ourselves, what even makes a good season of Drag Race? Everyone's metrics for gauging Drag Race seasons is different based on person. Some people watch to enjoy the art and the visual presentations on the runway. Some people watch to enjoy the drama or the dynamic personalities. And some people like to thirst watch. It's been known to happen. What I look for in a season of Drag Race boils down to 5 key criterion. Criterion number 1, cast synergy. When I think of good seasons of Drag Race, I think of ones where the cast develops authentic relationships that last through and after filming. You know, they're playing with each other in the workroom and riffing. They're, you know, throwing shade in the confessionals. They're having great drama in Untucked. For example, I think season 16 has some of the best cast synergy maybe ever. We have Saphira Crystal's maternal relationship with her co-stars, especially Maya and Mama Page. Plain Jane is starting fights with literally everyone. Dawn and Morphe Love Dion are reading the girls in the confessionals. The chemistry between this cast is electric. And as a result, we the audience buy into the illusion, and often the reality, that this is a sisterhood of traveling spirit gun. The emotional moments are authentic. The drama feels gritty and grounded, but it's often delivered to the camera with a wink. Good synergy boils down to authenticity, to a point, complementary and contrasting personalities, and differing perspectives on drag. Criterion number 2, dynamic personalities. Everyone loves an underdog. In my video essay on Global All-Stars, Nilania was one of the most dynamic personalities on the cast. I would argue, in fact, that she is the only one that got a 3-dimensional edit that entire season. Nelly had moments of laughter, of vulnerability, of conflict. It's hard not to fall in love with her, and I completely understand why she developed such a passionate fan base. In contrast to Global All-Stars, though, we have season 6, which is widely regarded to be the best season of Drag Race, maybe of all time. And I think a large reason is because the cast is so goddamn memorable and incredibly fucking charismatic. Fans deeply resonated with the dynamic personalities on the cast. Bianca Del Rio, the winner, was shady as hell, but she also was not afraid to be loving and maternal to the other cast members. Adore Delano was raw and gritty. Jocelyn Fox was goofy and quirky. Trinity K. Bonet went on such a journey, unpeeling many layers to her complex psyche. Milk challenged the viewers and the judges on what drag in the public eye can and could be. Kelly Mantle, mother. Darian Lake, mother. Ben de la Creme, mother. Ornacia, mother. April Carry-On, daddy. Call me. I hate myself. Why am I like this? Why is Archie Merc like this? The cast is stacked with rich and memorable personalities, and I think that is ultimately what leads it to being a timeless work of art to me.
Criterion number 3. Quality storytelling.
Let's talk about Revenge of the Queens. On All Stars 2, the format was the top 2 queens of that week's challenge would lip sync for their legacy, for a cash prize and the power to send one of the bottom queens home. A novel twist at the time. During the episode prior to Revenge of the Queens, Alyssa Edwards was sent home by, oh my god, I keep mentioning Alyssa Edwards. Global All Stars is never gonna leave me! During the episode prior, Alyssa Edwards was eliminated by Alaska. However, the other winning queen of the week was Jeremy Carey, then known as Fifi O'Hara. Fifi kind of got a pretty two-dimensional, really rough villain edit that season. I mean, she definitely walked away with some of the most intense hatred I've ever seen from the fandom. And during that episode, she had a lot of to say about Miss Edwards. So, after she's eliminated, they walk into the workroom, read her mirror message, and Fifi starts running her mouth. And just when Fifi was reaching that fever pitch...
What? Oh my god! Oh my god! What is going on here?
There are very few things in life that come remotely close to experiencing Mirrorgate for the first time. Donald Trump getting COVID for the first time, any fight including Lisa Rinna, doing poppers at Electrolux last summer in San Francisco, to an EDM remix of Jessie Ware's Free Yourself. What? Can a circuit party queen not have fun? Nothing quite hits like experiencing Mirrorgate blind. And to make things even better, poor Fifi is caught with her foot in her mouth, and the eliminated queens compete with the remaining members of the cast for a chance to return to the competition in a stand-up challenge. And after Alyssa Edwards and Tatiana, mother, God, that's my mother.
Oh, mother. My mother.
After they win the challenge, they lip sync to Rihanna's Shut Up and Drive, and after giving one of the greatest lip syncs of the history of the goddamn fucking franchise, both of them win the lip sync, and they get the power to eliminate a queen, and they both send Fifi O'Hara home. This is art. No. This is not just art. This is high art. Van Gogh could never. Starry Night could never. The producers of Drag Race will likely never replicate this again, and I think it is to their detriment if they continue to try and chase that to some degree. I previously said that Drag Race is at its best when there is narrative harmony between storyline and competition, and Revenge of the Queens amplifies that to a T. But good storytelling on Drag Race doesn't have to just last an episode. Oomph Jack Fed made an excellent video breaking down the journey of Raj O'Hara, my favorite drag queen of all time. Her 3-season storyline from villain to hero to winner is like my favorite thing ever. Other great storytelling moments I can think of off the top of my head are Sasha Velour winning the season 9 finale as the underdog, Lucy LaDuca and Luxnora London having to settle their differences to win a challenge together on season 15, the Silky Nutmeg Ganache show on All Stars 6, Blue Hydrangea sending Pangina Heels home on UK vs. the World season 1.
Pangina.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Drag Race is usually at its worst when it's actively trying to catch lightning in a bottle. That's why the lip sync for the crown format sucked so bad after season 9. You know, it just takes you out of the illusion, and I don't want to be told that I'm being sold something. I just want to buy into the fantasy, no questions asked.
Criterion number 4. Good ass drag.
To be clear, when I say drag is well executed, I am not saying that it's expensive. As the venerable scholar Vanity Vane once said, it does not take talent to open a wallet. For example, season 8 might have not had any Versace on the runway, but you cannot deny that most of the girls knew their niche and knew what they wanted to execute, and they did it pretty well. Bob the drag queen famously ran the Ruko Empire Challenge wearing a bodysuit that you could get off of Amazon. And quite frankly, I don't give a shit because I see the vision. Hot girls get it. $10,000 spent on a runway does not good drag make. I mean, it can certainly help sometimes. I mean, no one's doing it like Plastique Tiara, but it does not take money to be good at drag. I mean, I'm also not the best person to be judging what makes good drag because, I look like this. I do think there is a larger discussion to be had about how Drag Race at its core is creating a new class system within the art of drag itself, but that's a video essay for another time. But for now, just know that when I say drag is good, I'm not saying it's expensive or designer or custom. What I am saying is that despite... I'm so tired. I've gotten like no sleep the last couple days. I'm really on the struggle bus right now. I'm doing great, honestly. I'm giving like Fabio right now. Well, The Princess Bride was iconic, and cinema has never reached that peak again. My name is Inigo Montoya. You kill my father. Prepare to die. Arr! I have to be serious now, I have to finish the video. What I am saying is that the artist has a perspective, a point of view, and they know how to execute it well, be it through the art of fashion, stand-up, lip syncing. They know how to execute their visions, at least competently and to the best of their ability with the resources they have.
Criteria number 5. Humanity.
The first time Drag Race made me cry was when Jasmine Kennedy came out as trans during Untucked during the Daytona Wins episode. To this day, it remains one of the highest rated episodes of Untucked ever, and for good reason. It's fucking powerful to watch. This season holds a special place in the Drag Race canon because it's the first season to prominently feature some of the most marginalized people in the entire LGBTQIA+ community. Heterosexual men. But in all seriousness, having 5 trans women prominently featured, humanized, celebrated, honored on this cast is fucking powerful. The pacing of this season might have been funky as hell, but to me, one of the greatest strengths of it is the fact that it heavily features trans excellence in drag. One of my favorite articles discussing the importance of the show is a Vulture article from 2017 called Behind the Rise of RuPaul's Drag Race. When discussing the impact of Drag Race, TV reporter Marina Elena Fernandez writes,
"When Roxy Andrews broke down on the runway in the 5th season and spoke about being abandoned by her mother at a bus stop, everyone became emotional, including RuPaul. People in the control room will be crying, but nobody is acknowledging it," World of Wonder co-founder Randy Barbado said. "There will be a moment where the control room just goes silent."
It is no secret that one of the reasons why Drag Race has such cultural staying power is because of its heart. It is one of the few reality TV competitions and reality TV shows in general to consistently show the humanity of its queer and trans contestants. And to me, I also think that's why season 3 of Drag Race Philippines is literally one of the greatest seasons of Drag Race ever. Yes, I've been saying that a lot. You're gonna have to get used to it. I have a lot of favorites. Every single episode was an emotional roller coaster where contestant after contestant came forward and shared their humanity and bared their soul through their art and stories. Tita's story about starting drag later in life and sharing her message of being a late bloomer. Kiana working through her traumatic upbringing. Zimba Ding's family struggling with leprosy. Popstar Bench's beautiful relationship with her partner. John Fideliaga opening up about being a survivor of sex. Mix Chanel opening up about her HIV status. Angel and Maxie. Period. I was irrevocably inconsolable during pretty much every episode that season because the cast was so relatable and human. Literally during the finale lip sync when Maxie brought Angel up onto the stage, gave her a crown, and then they both held up the trans and gay pride flags, held hands in a sign of sibling love and solidarity between the communities. I get emotional just thinking about it. Like, how could you not cry? This is so touching and beautiful and vulnerable. Now, I will say that representation on its own is not enough. Representation without intention is well-meaning but misguided at best, and cynical at worst. There is also an argument to be had about Drag Race and other reality TV competitions exploiting their contestants' personal stories and trauma for, you know, entertainment value and profit, trauma porn, if you will. Now, not every season of Drag Race has to be firing on all these cylinders. In fact, some of my favorite seasons of Drag Race are often lacking in one or two of these categories, but man, when Drag Race gets it right, there is nothing like it on the planet. And I fully believe that season 17 has been doing that. And let me tell you why.
Part 2. The Dive.
Alright, bitches. It's time to fuck up an Aperol Spritz. We need to get drunker for this. I'm dealing with the Drag Race fandom. It requires alcohol. Okay, so first off, this is one of the most exciting casts that we have seen in a long time. While previous seasons like 16 and 15 might have had drag artists that were a bit more polished, this cast brings a lot of different perspectives to the art of drag that often aren't represented on the main stage of Drag Race. For instance, Lucky Star's approach to drag using papier-mâché masks to kind of create this larger-than-life cartoon character isn't something we often get to see represented. I was honestly kind of disappointed that she ended up being the pork chop of the season because I would have loved to see what else she brought to the main stage, but you know what? That's what the unaired runway portraits are for on Instagram. Susie Toot is another great example of this. While we have seen other drag artists in the past kind of lean into more of a vintage aesthetic, she puts her own spin onto it by leaning more so into the 1920s kind of flapper girl, Great Depression aesthetic of it all. I mean, to quote the diva herself, very chic and fashion. Not every vision that she had for her runway was executed to perfection for me, but I think she has a very clear perspective on what her art is and what it's supposed to be. Lydia B. Collins was also the primary architect of her runway package, and again, someone with a very distinct, clear idea on what her drag is supposed to be. It's grungy, asymmetrical, homemade. There's an element of punk to her drag that is so very captivating to me. Like Susie, not every runway was a hit for me, but through her very dry, twisted sense of humor in runway presentations, I was able to get a clear idea of who Lydia B. Collins is, and I fully believe that she is bringing something very fresh and exciting to mainstream drag. And even if the cast isn't directly reinventing the wheel, they're still bringing something entirely their own to their specific niches. One of my least favorite criticisms this season was that Sam Star looks and feels like an AI-generated drag queen, which is both deeply insulting and dismissive. Sure, big, glamorous pageant drag is nothing new, but her journey to get there is entirely her own and unique. During episode 3's design challenge, she shared with the audience that everything she learned about the art of sewing and her deep passion for creating garments came from her grandmother, who taught her everything she knew about her skill, helping net her first win of the season. She may be Trinity the Tuck's drag daughter, but her identity, her skills, her craft are 100% Sam Star, and I would die for her. I need Jesus. I need Jesus. I need to keep drinking. I need more of this. Like, this cast knows what they want and what they want to bring to their craft, and more often than not, I find that they tend to execute it quite well. Let's also talk about cast synergy and dynamic personalities. These girls know how to make good-ass TV. We're in a bit of a Drag Race renaissance right now. From season 15 to now, I feel like the producers have finally gotten a hold of what Drag Race should look like in the 2020s. And a huge part of that is that they're casting drag artists who aren't afraid to make good, crazy, batshit TV. On your nerve. On your f***ing nerve. On your f***ing nerve. On your m***ing nerve. Has had one of the most well-rounded, well-executed edits I have seen maybe ever. She went from villain in episode 3 through 6 to motherly hero figure on episode 7 onward, and even though she was in the center of all the drama during the Monopulence and Sea-Sickening Ball challenges, stealing Jules' trim and accidentally ruining Lexi's outfit with spray paint, the producers did an excellent job not to caricaturize her as a cartoon villain, but as a complex human who is capable of making mistakes. Anya is incredibly charismatic. She's calling it like it is during Untucked. She's kicking with her sisters during the mirror moments. She's making RuPaul laugh just by walking down the runway. That is my mother. Of course, some fans of the show are quick to dismiss her. I suspect it's because the fandom is notoriously anti-black, but I will not deny that she is that bitch. I would watch anything that she is in. That's my dream pit stop host. It is also no secret that I, Archibald Merchandise, not real government name, am the president of the Pacific Northwest's Sparkler Chapter Club. I am Jewel Sparkle's biggest fan, outside of maybe Dawn. This girl is wildly entertaining and a fantastic narrator. She reminds me of Bosco on season 14. You know, she could turn even the most wildly mundane events into just something absolutely hilarious. There's something so earnest and sweet about her reality TV persona. The determination to succeed, not throwing your friend under the bus even though they did something absolutely terrible, being painted as the villain even though you didn't intend to be as such. Jewel Sparkles is the protagonist of season 17. Very much Gwen from Total Drama vibes, and that through all the chaos, she is the beacon of hope. Point being is, this cast is dripping with bankable personalities that are so fun to watch week in, week out. Lexi Love is raw and real. Corey King has me giggling with every single confessional. Joella, I could go on. And this leads me to cast synergy. Not only are the moments of laughter so sweet, but the drama is pitch perfect. I'm talking Joella in Untucked telling Lucky Stars that she is going to send her home in the most unintentionally condescending way, and then proceeding to go, "Why is everyone crying?" after she's eliminated. Joella's perfect to me. She's everything to me. I can't stop laughing. Joella, why are you doing this, girl? I'm talking about Trimgate and the explosive fight that happened during Paintgate. I'm talking about the villains roast, when Arietti played dirty by stealing Jules' jokes, bombed the roast, had a massive fight with Anya in Untucked, and then got home by her chismosa sister. Lydia and Corey ended their showmance with a bottom two lip sync and made out with each other in front of RuPaul, Andre Charles, and we were all screaming. It was perfect. This is everything to me. The cast riffs off each other to a T, and you can tell from the banter and their joint live streams on Instagram and the comment sections and the Twitter banter that these girls left filming with real friendships. People on the internet, of course, are still weird and hateful about all the drama, but again, say it with me, the Drag Race fandom spice tolerance is the equivalent of thinking salt and pepper is spicy. Don't cyberbully someone for getting at your fave. Say thank you for giving us some of the best drama ever. So, check on cast synergy and dynamic personalities. What about storytelling, Archie? Are the storylines good this season? Yes, they are. Dare I say some of the cleanest in years. Let's talk about Arietti again. I know that the fandom is not super hot on her right now, given that way that she left on kind of an ugly note, but I will also say that she has had such a narratively satisfying journey. She went from being low in a comedy challenge to trying to redeem herself on RDR Live and then get sent home, only to be saved by chance with the badonkadunk tank. She is one of the 2 people involved in the Paintgate scandal who ruined Lexi Love's outfit, and then proceeds to give one of the best runway presentations of the goddamn season, and wins the challenge the same week that her fellow badunkadunk savee, or Mona Lisa, is sent home, not just deserving the win, but earning her win. Storytelling gold. There are also many other great instances of setup and payoff during the season as well. We have Susie Toot winning the talent show after feeling underestimated, Sam Starr winning the Rusical after being told to step outside of her comfort zone, Crystal Envy stepping up for her team to be a tumbleweed in the singing challenge and then get a high placement, Jewel Sparkles being edged for weeks and then finally getting her first win during the Betsy Johnson design challenge, Lydia proceeding against all odds to win the roast. Also, Lingerie doing exceptionally well during the roast, despite her previous struggles in comedy-based challenges. Mother. It was a really rough season to be a lingerie defense attorney, but nevertheless, we persist. The roast episode in general was just a masterclass in how to do reality TV drama. Everybody say thank you, Arietti. Thank you, Jules. Thank you, Lexi. Thank you, Anya. Thank you, Susie. The editors and producers this season paid careful attention to their cast and made sure to balance rewarding, good TV and competitive success. And as a result, I feel like this is one of the most organic seasons of Drag Race. I don't feel like anyone got pushed. Their performances and challenges and storylines played out very naturally. You could argue that there was the odd case of rigmarole here and there. I mean, I personally would have given the Rusical win to Anya or Jules, but even when there was a judging decision that I didn't agree with, it still made sense in the larger narrative of the season. In addition to making good reality TV, this cast has also not been afraid to balance drama with vulnerability. In fact, more often than not, the drama was some of the most vulnerable parts of the season. It's when the cast was at its most human. I think one of the reasons why Lexi Love resonates with so many people watching the season at home is because they relate to her upbringing. During the first episodes of the season, she discussed her homophobic family, being kicked out, and how for her, drag was a safety net to keep her financially afloat, you know? She was homeless, she was struggling with drug addiction, and she struggled and went through a lot of really harrowing, dark experiences, but it was her queer family that lifted her out of darkness. The makeover episode in particular was a beautiful send-off to her because she finally got to have healing moments with her mother on camera while also having an awakening to her season-long rivalry with Susie Toot. She was the theater kid that Lexi could have been. Lexi's experience with drag didn't start out as a passion project like most of her castmates. It was her survival strategy. This mirrors the stories of a lot of other queer and trans people who turn to stigmatized or marginalized lines of work to put food on the table. It certainly reminds me of a lot of my peers in sex work. In her August 2022 article, Judy Berman writes for Time magazine about the impact of reality TV on our culture. She says,
as early as the 90s, reality TV was confronting third-rail issues like racism, LGBTQ+ rights, abortion, homelessness, and AIDS, and that was just in the first 3 seasons of The Real World. For more than a generation now, reality stars have played a central role in debates around how Americans should live as any cable news pundit or newspaper columnist. Millennials and Gen Z have grown up expecting to see their identities, values, and struggles represented on series as ostensibly apolitical as Big Brother and Dancing with the Stars.
Reality TV is often a mirror, a dark mirror, that reveals to the audience at home the experiences and plights of the everyman in real time. Stories like Lexi's are why audiences keep coming back to Drag Race year in, year out. And this cast has showcased time and again deeply human moments, be it their personal histories or conflict with castmates. Acacia Forgot struggling with cystic fibrosis is human. Jules Sparkles having a spinal replacement is human. Anya Nerve playing both the villain and the hero is human. Lydia and Corey finding love is human. Arietti's complete and utter crash out during the Villains Roast episode is human. Hormonal Lisa opening up about her autism outside of the show is human. Literally, the entire makeover episode had me boo-hooing like a little bitch baby, okay? I am a lifelong fan of this entire top 5. Like, I love these girls so much. The only cast member that I would say is the exception to this is Joella, and that's because she's not human, she's Christ incarnate. Hallelujah. Point being is, there's an earnestness to this cast that goes beyond the produced edit. You know, it feels organic. Not like something that came out of the back labs of the factory that made, you know, the horrors that are the Target Pride collection, Q-Force, and Meghan Trainor. It's hard not to empathize with this cast. I may not know any of them personally yet, but each one of them left the season deeply humanized to me. Other rapid fire things I liked about the season. I thought the Badonkadunk tank, while gimmicky, served its purpose. Bitch, I'm a drag queen, all of the design challenges, the Ross Matthews versus the Ducks challenge, they all rocked. The roast and makeover challenges are some of the best episodes we've had in years. Even RDR Live is starting to grow on me. The guest judges this season were spectacular. My favorites were Betsy Johnson, Doechii, Sam Smith, and Hunter Schafer. And of course, adding Law Roach to the rotating judges panel was like the best decision ever. So there you have it. I have laid out for my case why I think season 17 is the best season of Drag Race we've had in years, because it is a season full of excellent, dynamic drag artists and personalities, and deeply humanizing moments. The drama is some of the best and most entertaining we've had in years. The storylines are tighter than a DL bottom. Ass Cheeks, clapped. Joella, Christ. Hotel, Trivago. Roll the credits!
Part 3. The Sharks.
Okay, so despite what I think about this season, the truth of the matter is, season 17 is polarizing as fuck. Which I guess you could say is the indicator that it's good art because it's prompting very different people to take very different takeaways. My king Derek from The Drag Detective recently put out a video unpacking and responding to a lot of the criticism around this season, and I highly recommend watching that after this video if you want another perspective on the polarizing attitudes during the season. Plus, hot girl stan Derek. I don't make the rules. Don't look at me like that. Joella does, okay? Okay, no more Joella jokes. No more Joella jokes. But I will say, if the apocalypse happens tomorrow, the Slasian diva of LA is surviving by starting a cult. And I would happily be a devotee.
The Joella lesbians are the real dark cabal running the deep state.
I have a hard time understanding why people don't enjoy this season, but there is a vocal group of the fan base that doesn't vibe with season 17 as much. And I don't want to just write them off. I want to understand where they're coming from and why something that I love so much is just not sitting right with others. I scoured the internet, Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, Blue Sky, and I found some pretty interesting commonalities. I'm going to present to you 3 Redditors' opinions that I found that I think best embody the general frustrations towards this season: personality, aesthetic, and comedy. So let us explore the dissent. Welcome to my thesis defense class. We're in session.
They are all incredibly self-produced. Corey King trying so hard to be a meme. Someone on here said that Lana always wants to make sure she looks good if someone hits pause while watching. Ariete, Samstar, and Crystal Envy are a 3-headed twink hydra. Drag Race now has participants who've been viewers since childhood, so the queens will inevitably become homogeneous, ultra self-aware, and kinda disingenuous.
Okay, first of all, 3-headed Hydra Twink is a banger read. Like, it sounds like a final boss for a queer-themed D&D campaign. Girl Master Bagginses, Malprecious, roll the D20, cast Cold of Cold! I need to be put down like Old Yeller. Fast! One of the points of contention that I have seen with season 17 is that the cast lacks personality. They're self-produced, and there aren't really any standout characters. They're hyper-aware that they're on reality TV because they grew up on Drag Race as it became mainstream. And now, we have a bunch of queens who started drag to get on Drag Race. I dislike this argument for a number of reasons. For starters, it operates from the assumption that you, the viewer, know exactly what the intentions of the artist are. It's an argument from bad faith. Secondly, you could make that claim about literally any cast after the first season. Season 1 of RuPaul's Drag Race was an anomaly. Before 2009, there wasn't really any mainstream reality TV competitions that centered the art of drag, much less the experiences of queer and trans artists. To return to that Vulture article, Fernandez writes,
The realness can be traced to the show's modest beginnings in a Burbank basement, where the control room was a closet and the queens hung out in the hallway during deliberations. It was literally, what the f*** is this? RuPaul recalled of the first set.
The first season of the show is what I would argue the only iteration of Drag Race where the cast was not in some way raised by the show. Plenty of girls from season 2 had probably auditioned after seeing a couple clips from the first season. Alaska famously got on to season 5 after auditioning for every single season of Drag Race since it was first casting. The promise of fame that Drag Race offers has always been an incentive for drag artists, the same way as, say, American Idol is for vocalists. And we don't tell singers that they started singing to get on American Idol now, do we? I agree with Redditor A that it is not fun to watch a reality TV contestant play up a shtick to the camera so hard it breaks the illusion. But TV personas are often subjective, and what might come across as authentic to someone might come off as dishonest to another. I also think the lack of diversity in age, showcasing people who started drag before the show even began, is something that I take issue with American casts. But to counter the argument that this cast has no personality, Anya Nerve is dripping with charisma and multitudes. Lexi's season-long emotional roller coaster had peaks and twists every episode. Arietti's villain moments were some of the most unique and human in the history of the show. Even contestants that got buried in the edit like Lucky Stars and Crystal Envy had standout moments. I do agree that because this cast skews younger, their first exposure to drag likely came from the show. But why is that such a bad thing? Is it not a good thing that younger generations get exposed to an art form that used to be so stigmatized and want to pursue it as a passion or a career the same as a musician or a painter? Furthermore, contestants that often get buried in the edit are often introverted or more closed off and are not typically built for being these loud, bombastic reality TV personalities. So there's also that to consider as well. Violet Chachki and Aquaria won their seasons in their early 20s, and I didn't see the same people complaining about this cast complaining about them. I think what people really mean when they say that the younger queens are raised on the show and that they have no personality is that they feel as though Drag Race has lost its edge. It's turned a countercultural and punk art form, drag, into something mainstream, a commodity to be bought and sold. It's suffering in some ways from the law of diminishing returns, and they sublimate that feeling of disillusionment into contempt towards the younger artists. Drag is now a multi-million-dollar industry. It's an oversaturated market in an era that pumps out bright, new, shiny, minty stars every single year. It can feel like we as a culture have lost touch with the roots of the art form, and I completely agree with this perspective. But I wish people would just say that and focus their critiques on the show rather than ripping the working artists apart that sustain it, because targeting individuals, as fun as it is to tear a celebrity down every once in a while, is not actually going to solve the systemic injustice or commodification of queer and trans art. And if we were to properly explore this topic right now, we'd have another 2-hour-long video essay on our hands, and I simply do not have that in me right now. So let's put a pin in the commodification of drag and just say that no personality is a weak sauce argument, and just because a cast skews younger does not make them uninteresting or self-produced. Being raised on Drag Race is not a bad thing. Next.
It was a boring season with little to none chemistry, basically no interesting TV personalities. I don't like to compare past girls to the current ones, but this year they're all watered down versions of queens and personas that we have seen before, and they have been done far better. If any of this season's cast were on seasons 1 through 10, they wouldn't make it past episode 5 even. With that being said, with Lydia, Susie, Anya, and Lexi included, I fear that I'll forget about them in the next year or two, or if not sooner.
Another common critique that I have seen about this season is that a lot of people feel as though the cast are worst versions of drag and personalities that have been done before and better. Now, I think this is a critique that illustrates a fundamental difference between fans of Drag Race and fans of drag. Fans of drag center the artist's individuality and approach to the art with more nuance, whereas fans of Drag Race tend to categorize queens based on archetype and operate from a zero-sum perspective. Stan culture, if you will. I do appreciate the self-awareness that Redditor B has in emphasizing that it's probably not the best to compare current casts to previous casts. But this is a critique that I have seen in general, time and again, from people far less self-aware. Folks will say that Susie is like Timu Jinx, and Sam Star is Timu Trinity the Tuck, and Crystal Envy is Timu Rose, and Acacia Forgot is Timu Trixie Mattel. It can be helpful to identify different types of character and drag archetypes for newbies to ease into Drag Race, but it becomes harmful to drag artists and art in general when we police artists into identities and not grow past this mentality. Genres serve a purpose to help our little caveman brains make sense of the world around us, but they should always be treated as suggestive, not categorical. In the words of the great Linda Martell,
genres are a funny little concept, aren't they? Yes, they are. In theory, they have a simple definition that's easy to understand, but in practice, well, some may feel confined.
There's a world of difference between, I feel like she could have executed this better, and this has been done before, but better. A linguistic shift that I myself am trying to make. When Drag Race fans compare newer casts to previous artists, I don't think they understand that drag, like most other art, is iterative. It builds off each other. To quote the literal Bible, what has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Humans have understood for millennia that art and ideas recycle each other. The beauty of art is not necessarily that you reinvent the wheel or push boundaries, but that you bring your own perspective, your own human, personal experience to the art. And speaking of human experience, AI tangent time. AI tangent time. I have recently done a little digging into the AI artist community because of this goddamn stupid ass Studio Ghibli trend. On March 25th, a Twitter user by the name of Grant Salton posted a picture of him and his wife and corgi side by side with a portrait of that same picture generated by ChatGPT in the style of Studio Ghibli's signature art style. This has sparked an insane trend of people running selfies, candids, stills, portraits through ChatGPT in an attempt to Ghiblify themselves. This is the fucking stupidest thing that I have seen in a long time. I mean, the goddamn IDF's official Twitter page is promoting it. My fucking god. Are you committing against indigenous people? Do you want to alleviate your guilty conscience? Are you trying to promote a settler agenda by framing yourself as the heroes triumphing over the children of darkness? Well, we're offering a discount sale for you. Just use code IHateMiyazaki for 69% off of your first month of ChatGPT Premium, so you can Ghiblify your troops just as famed pacifist Hayao Miyazaki intended. I mean, who needs artists when you've got AI slop? Now, I'm not saying that the vast majority of people are doing this are bad people, nor do they have bad politics. Most of them are just morally average randos who prioritize their own entertainment over, well, critical thinking. I'll admit, some of these portraits are cute. I understand the appeal of instant gratification to your own curiosity. But also, curiosity killed the cat, Anastasia, and the environment, and artists' jobs. But also, there are genuinely people who are finding career paths in AI-generated content. And I hate this so much. Why? To give you an idea of what some of these AI artists think like, here are some tweets from an AI artist account I am lovingly renaming to Brandon. Here are some of his recent tweets.
The best part about being an AI artist, I don't need anyone's permission to draw anything.
Wow, man. Legacy artists are so disgusting. Is this what jealousy does to a person?
Bro, their feelings of inadequacy in their artwork manifests in hatred for all things different. I drew you in Ghibli style, and there was nothing you could do to stop me. If you talk bad about AI again, I will generate you pregnant.
The absolute low point of Brandon's 2-year career of generating AI images happened on Trans Day of Visibility in 2025, in which Brandon went under a random trans woman's celebration post and Ghiblified it without her consent. When she very politely pushed back, Brandon then proceeded to generate another image of her, this time pregnant, and then after she blocked him, Brandon generated another image of her pregnant, but this time stepping in a pile of I'm sorry to inform you that if your knee-jerk response to criticism is sending an AI-generated hate image, the problem is you. Now, because this is a video about Drag Race, and Drag Race fans have a tendency to not be normal about literally anything, please do not go out of your way to harass this person. Do not dox him, do not send him death threats, do not cyberbully him, etc. It is not worth your time investing in giving this random person free engagement. I don't welcome that kind of behavior here. However, if you do happen to stumble upon this person, block him before he generates an image of you in your 3rd trimester. So why am I even bringing this up? Well, it's because there's a growing trend of drag artists using generative AI to help facilitate their projects. They use ChatGPT or Midjourney or other OpenAI to make outfit concepts or backgrounds for photo shoots. And this is bad. Part of the joy of drag is that it is some of the most profoundly human art. You know, it requires so many facets of our lived experience to express. And even if the art itself is not that well executed, it's still art, right? It may not be good art, but it's still art. It alarms me that AI is being used to replace the expression of humanity. And I worry about its long-term ramifications on the future of drag because, again, drag is a profoundly human art form. And going back to Drag Race, I cannot see that more exemplified in the cast of season 17. While a chunk of them are not seasoned queens who have been doing drag for 10 plus years, I would argue that it does not take a decade to be good at what you do, or have a point of view. Lana Geray's drag is heavily inspired by late 90s supermodels like Naomi Campbell. Crystal and Sam's drag are rooted in pageantry, big hair and jewelry, neatly put together and succinct. Lydia's drag sits at the intersection of absurdist and punk and morbid humor with just a hint of camp. Anya's drag is unapologetically black, drawing heavily from her experience in theater and her identity. Jules Sparkle's drag incorporates a lot of her Latina heritage into her pin-up Barbie aesthetic. These girls have a point of view. Maybe it's not always the most refined, but it is still present and entirely their own. Art is subjective, and it is not my job to police someone for saying a runway or an artist is bad and they don't like it. I am going to use my platform, though, to encourage people to question and challenge where their own tastes come from. For example, Lana Geray. Was her short shorts outfit for that runway unfit for the main stage of Drag Race, or are your expectations of what good drag is warped by Drag Race consistently praising and celebrating expensive couture runways while putting down pedestrian drag? Mall drag, if you will. Because I guarantee you, if Lana wore that Naomi runway-inspired outfit at my home bar, oh, the crowd would not be giving two and I would be living. And my opinion is the only one that matters. And this ties back to my first counterpoint. Just because the cast skews younger does not make them bad at drag, nor does it make them insincere for their passion for the art. In fact, I would argue that it is so exciting to see such young people already have such strong control over their visions for their art and visual presentations. It's gonna be so much fun to see where these girls take their art and their drag in the years to come. Art is iterative. Everything is a riff off each other. Jokes and comedy are recycled time and again. Musicians put their own spins on the same melodies and cadences. Likewise, drag may occupy similar stylings, but each artist brings their own lived experience to the craft. I wish more fans of the show approached drag artistry less like a zero-sum game, a turf war between stands, and more like an individualized experience to be understood. Moreover, commission artists, exercise restraint, delayed gratification, and keep generative AI out of drag. And cops out of pride. Next!
There isn't a single girl who is naturally incredibly funny. Each season has had at least one queen who is hilarious without them even trying to be. Angeria, Candy Muse, and Plain Jane are a few who are funny just from being themselves, if that makes sense.
Okay, first of all, have these divas not even seen Corey King's cameo? Truly a diva who knows how to capitalize on a lolcow following. Nikki Blonsky, it's time to meet your maker. Corey Toot. But I do think this particular critique illustrates a larger issue many fans of the show have had in recent years. Namely, US iterations of Drag Race have been casting less queens who are versed in the staples of drag, including stand-up. That's not to say that there are queens in this cast who aren't, but contestants like Bob the Drag Queen, Miss Cracker, and Jimbo are known for their comedy routines, be they character impersonation or stand-up. I think critics of this season are fair to say that this cast struggles with comedy and being funny. But that's not because these girls are not hilarious or engaging personalities. It's because the producers of Drag Race are prioritizing casting queens that I like to call Instagrammable, which I define as the ability to commodify a person or art form to be easily mass-produced and consumed as a visual art and entertainment, especially on social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok. The rise of the social media queen has been a burgeoning part of Drag Race discourse for years now. From Kim Chi to season 8 to recent years like Sugar and Spice on season 15, there is an implication that drag queens who got their start on social media are somehow less talented and deserving of success than old school drag queens who got their start in bars and nightclubs. And I'm sure that's partially true. There is a lot more to serving a look, but also, it's very much giving, how dare these girls call themselves drag queens? I had to claw tooth and nail to get up to where I am today. I actually have talent.
Where do these TikTok teens get off associating themselves with me? Why do they have 1 million followers? I don't work to get where I am.
A classic case of intergenerational envy to me. And I'll tell you right now, Sweaty, there is nothing to envy about being on a platform where you are a servant to the algorithm. You're basically a tiny sardine in a big school of other sardines in a tiny woven net trying to wiggle your way up to the top. It sucks. I will concede that one of the few shortcomings of this season is that the cast has not strongly demonstrated comedy chops, but I think that's a symptom of a larger problem. World of Wonder is casting queens on Drag Race who they think will cater to social media marketability, resulting in certain staples like hosting or stand-up or celebrity impersonations being devalued. These three counter-arguments illustrate the most consistent negative critiques that I've seen leveled against this season. But the common thread underlying the theme across most of the negativity, explicit or not, is age. People are not resonating with this season because this cast is young. For context, 3 of the 14 girls on season 16 were 25 or under. 6 of the 14 girls on season 6 were 25 or under, with the oldest being 41. 7 of the 14 girls on season 17 were 25 or under at the time of filming, and only 3 of the cast members being 30 plus, and the oldest person there being 33. This is the most Gen Z centered cast we have ever had. And I don't think fans of the show, especially longtime fans, know how to relate to that. Their senses of humor are different, and so are their fashion tastes. Instead of Lil Edie, you get Trisha Paytas for Snatch Game. But it's not the cast's fault that they're young. Production is in control of who makes it onto each season. So I have to ask, is this whole generated by ChatGPT argument made against younger queens made because they're generic? Or is it because people are having a hard time connecting to a Gen Z perspective on drag? Researchers John Protzko and Jonathan W. Schooler from the UC Santa Barbara's Psychology Department conducted a study analyzing the attitudes of older generations towards the younger, the kids these days phenomena. In the discussion of their study, Protzko and Schooler write,
"This backward projection from self to kids likely occurs because people have fewer details available when recalling past peers than when assessing present adult peers. People use their present self as a proxy for their past selves, as well as projecting onto past others. When judging present others, we have a readily available information and do not need to rely so much on self-projections."
Protzko and Schooler illustrate a very real phenomena that I feel is actively plaguing the Drag Race fandom, namely nostalgia poisoning. A lot of fans, particularly people who say Drag Race isn't what it used to be, have an attachment to earlier seasons of Drag Race. They grew up to love the show during its golden age, long before we had over 200 episodes and international iterations. They project their longing for the quality of the earlier seasons onto the current cast, which leads to an inability to adapt and understand new and younger perspectives, while also clouding a more critical lens of the older media. To be clear, I think it is perfectly fine for people of an older generation to struggle with connecting with artistry and personalities of their successors. It is inevitable. And I also think it's fine to just admit nostalgic preference. But I wish people would just say that rather than just dismiss current working artists as generic or disingenuine. I wish more people who are bitter about the state of Drag Race put less of their negative energy and blame towards the working artists and used a bit more brain power to understand why this is happening. The problem is not that the cast is young or generic or untalented. They are not the issue here. The problem is intergenerational envy and resentment, clouding people's perspectives and ability to engage with and understand the new generation's perspective on drag and art. The problem is nostalgia poisoning, yearning for the good old days and preventing a critical analysis of what was and being more open to what will be. The problem is social media, twisting and warping the art of drag into a highly commodified art and changing the way that we view it and all of the staples of the art form. The problem is World of Wonder, greedy corporations following the money, building casts based on who they think will be marketable and not celebrating a richness and diversity in the perspective of art. Truly, whether I think this season's a masterpiece and love it, or you think it's boring and hate it, actually doesn't matter. We all look for different things in media. What does alarm me, though, is the lack of critical thinking skills present in the Drag Race fandom. The furthest I have seen a lot of people go is expressing their contempt for structural issues by sublimating their own contempt into blaming and sometimes even harassing working artists. You know, dogpiling Kitty Scott Claus and Queen Kong during Global All-Stars was not going to solve or stop production from being Eurocentric and rigging the season against ESL queens. Likewise, saying Sam Starr or Jules Sparkles are an AI's idea of drag is not going to foster any sense of intergenerational understanding, nor is it going to offer more opportunities for more alternative or gender non-conforming drag. Saying Lana Geray is just a boring skinny fashion queen relying on her body does not stop the rampant culture of fat phobia in drag and fashion, and in fact, makes you look like an asshole. Saying the cast does not have a memorable personality is not going to change the fact that drag has become an oversaturated market. And never mind the fact that fans are quick to dismiss and overlook charismatic queens of color like Anya Nerve because, you know, racial prejudice. Truth is, this is not a video reviewing season 17. I am happy to argue why I think it's one of the best seasons of Drag Race we've ever had, but ultimately, our relationships to media, to art, are our own. What this video really is an attempt to hijack the conversation and help people learn more about themselves and how to connect language between systemic disillusionment and art. You know, it is really difficult to watch people take out their frustrations about long-standing systemic issues on marginalized individuals who are trying everything they can to create visual art and entertaining TV for you to enjoy. And to be clear, if you don't resonate with an artist or a person for whatever reason, that's fine. But I wish people were more aware of where that was coming from and identify the root causes of these issues, because more often than not, the artists, the person behind the art, are not the cause. So, to the dingbats who keep shit on working artists in place of class resentment, no, but keep going.
Part 4. The Shore. God. Archie Merc is so pretentious. If I met him, I'd cancel that bargain bin Carter Dane impersonator right then and there. In this project, I have tried my best to interrogate my own relationship and what I look for in Drag Race and through drag media in general through the lens of season 17. I've also done my best to try and understand the criticism as well as identify a lot of the underlying common threads, namely the age of the cast. My biggest hope is that people walk away from this video with the language to connect their frustrations about systemic issues, about media in general and Drag Race related content towards the people in power and the systems and structures in place, not the marginalized artists. Now, in doing so, I find myself asking, why do we even watch Drag Race in the first place? Why do we return to the show time and again, year after year, even if we, the audience, have felt like it's fallen off? I think every single person has a different relationship to drag, and by extension, Drag Race. And I think that's a wonderful thing. You know, we all look for and prioritize different things when it comes to the art and media we engage with. Our lived experiences inform which kinds of artists we resonate with. And as a result, different queens, episodes, seasons, all of these mean something very different to each individual person that watches the show. Yes, I do think a lot of the criticism towards season 17 is rooted in frustrations toward corporate greed, tarnishing the art of drag, and an inability to understand Gen Z's perspective on the art. Yes, and I think we all look for different things when it comes to Drag Race. What do you look for in a season of Drag Race? Did you pay attention to my arguments or my abs more? Leave a comment and subscribe! I do want to present some solutions here. Even if you're not enjoying this season of Drag Race, here are some suggestions that I have of seasons of Drag Race, even if you have seen them before, to just go back and watch and enjoy and scratch that itch for the thing that you are looking for when it comes to Drag Race. If you don't know where to start and you're just getting into the show for the first time and season 17 is your first season, I highly recommend going back and watching seasons 4 through 7 and then All Stars 2. That is like Drag Race 101 to me. It introduces you to all the main legacy mainstay acts like Trixie Mattel, Katya Zamolodchkova, Ben de la Creme, Bianca Del Rio, Trinity K. Bonet, and also it's just peak TV. Like, this is Drag Race at its best. If you're someone who values peak reality TV drama,
I highly suggest seasons 2, 3, 5, 11, and season 17 for that matter. If you're looking for seasons with excellent runway presentations, I recommend seasons 7, 12, 16, and All-Stars 7. I'd also recommend All-Stars 9, but that season kind of sucks ass, so maybe put that at the bottom of your watch list. If you're looking to get into Drag Race outside of the US and explore what drag looks like in different cultures, I recommend seasons 1, 2, and 6 of Drag Race UK, as well as España season 1 and 2. I also recommend France 2, Philippines 3, and Mexico 2. All fantastic seasons of television with great, entertaining, wildly different perspectives on the art form that you don't really see here in the States. If you're looking for great cast diversity and different perspectives on a single season, I highly recommend watching Canada's Drag Race seasons 4 and 5. Honestly, I could write a whole love letter, and maybe I will, to Canada's Drag Race, but for now, if you're looking for really good seasons with very different, diverse casts with very different perspectives, those are the seasons to look for. Also, Michaela Couture. Dare I say more? I think it is much better for the soul to spend your time engaging with media that you love versus media that you are ambivalent to or absolutely outright hate. And to be clear, haters are welcome here. I think being a hater is valid and fair. But my biggest criticism with the Drag Race fandom is often that they are unable to divorce their own prejudices from their criticism or hatred of a season, or the artists themselves. One of my biggest issues with leftist content and leftists on the internet in general, myself included, is that we tend to endlessly critique things. You know, we critique systems, we critique politics, we critique media without actually presenting any actionable, real solutions. And my goal is that even with something as simple as media analysis of a season of Drag Race, is that someone can walk away from this video with at least actionable solutions, no matter how small, to do better with, you know, their media analysis or leading their personal lives. So in place of sending yet another boring, uninspired tweet about how Lana Jarrett is just another skinny pair of legs with no personality, just try this. 1, keep it in the group chat. 2, publicly talk about which drag artists are your favorite and why. 3, privately interrogate your own biases and try to understand where they're coming from. And 4, try to find a way to recenter your critiques of marginalized artists onto the people in power and understand the systems that cause these issues to happen in the first place. So, in conclusion, is season 17 a masterpiece? Well, yes. Abso-fucking-lutely it is. I think it's the best season we've had in years. I think it is the most interesting season of Drag Race we have had in years because it offers an in-depth glimpse into the psyche of Gen Z drag artists. It showcases beautiful visual art while balancing that with excellent drama and great entertaining performances. The challenges are well sequenced, the storylines are satisfying, the badonkadonk-tink does not overstay its welcome. It's perfect. I love it. It's a masterpiece. And if you don't agree with me, that's okay. It's fine. We need to build understanding by listening to each other and not tearing each other down for having different opinions, while also simultaneously challenging the people in power as a collective and asking them to do better by the artists and the fans of the show. But I will say this. I think it is deeply troubling how there is a large swath of the fandom that is quick to dismiss an artist's talent just based on their age, whether they are young or old. If we as a society consistently use age as a metric for gauging someone else's talent or skill, then I fear there's something wrong with the way we engage in art. I mean, just look at this goddamn cast. In less than 30 years of life, and in some instances, less than 5 years in the art of drag, it is so incredible to see that these prodigies are showing up firing on all cylinders. These girls have given us show-stopping looks, entertaining performances, and well thought out, well executed visual art. How exciting is it that at this stage in their careers, these young drag artists are showing up firing on all cylinders. These girls are hungry, and I think that's something to be celebrated. That's wonderful, because if season 17 is a glimpse into the future of drag, then I think our future is as bright and luminescent as a pearl plucked from the depths of our vast, mystical sea.